After my stepdaughter was struck and killed by lightning in 2006, I had retired about 3 years earlier. I just knew she had to still exist in some form, even though I didn't have any belief in the afterlife, any experience of seeing spirits, none whatsoever. You're asking these questions because there's something in you that knows there's more. It's great to be curious, and it's really wise to be skeptical. So ask for evidence, test it in your heart, and let the evidence speak for itself. People say, oh, I'm broken. Oh, I'm traumatized. Yes, at one level, but at your deeper level, you are whole and complete right now, because it only takes 3 minutes a day to experience expanded states of awareness and get in the habit of shifting your focus from this objective world to the subjective world, and then integrating the two. If we want to connect with our loved ones, we just pause and don't just say, hey, that would be great. You set a very clear intention from the center of you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Broken Beautiful Me, where we gather in our sacred space for honest conversations and soul deep healing. I'm Kelly Buckley, your host, and each story we share and honor is a gentle reminder that even in our brokenness, we are beautifully becoming through hope, gratitude, and the quiet strength of resilience. I am absolutely honored today because today's guest is Suzanne Giesemann. She is a spiritual teacher, an author, and medium, recognized on Watkins' list of the 100 most spiritually influential living people. She's a former Navy commander and aide to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. She has published 16 books, 6 HemiSync recordings, and YouTube videos reaching millions of viewers. She produces the Daily Way inspirational messages and hosts the Awakened Way podcast. She leads classes, workshops, and retreats and serves as faculty with the Shift Network and Humanities team. Suzanne shares the Awakened Way, a mindful approach to living in awareness that we are not only human, but part of one interconnected web of higher consciousness. Her gift of multidimensional communication has been verified by noted afterlife researchers. Her messages bring not only hope, but healing and love that goes straight to the heart. And for more information about her work and classes, you can visit her website, and we will have that in our show notes. Her latest book, which I am currently listening to and excited to talk about, is Making the Afterlife Connection, the journey from doubt to knowing that death is not the end. Suzanne, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the show.
Oh, Kelly, it's an honor to be with you here. I know we've connected and danced throughout the years since
We
I initially
have.
gave you a reading, and you came on one of my cruises, I believe, and didn't you?
Yes, we did. We went to Alaska with you,
That's
and
right.
it was fantastic.
Yeah, it's just so awesome to that our loved ones across the veil bring us together, and we get to start a whole new journey together.
I know. I really feel that with my heart, Suzanne. And I will tell you before we start down our list of things to talk about, that reading that you gave to me about Stephen was just one of the most healing experiences I've had in my life. And I
Mm,
am so incredibly grateful to you for that.
that's what it's about. I do readings for the healing and the comfort, and to show people that death is not the end. But then, to my surprise, it became so much more than that. It became about realizing who we are. If we can have those kinds of communications, what does that say about us here and now? So it's really broadened way beyond mediumship.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I could sense that kind of growing into that on the cruise. It just felt so much like you could just feel the energy of the room of all of the love that was around and people coming together from their own lived experiences and traumas and just finding this place where they could have peace. It was beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. Real sense of community with those of us who really understand finally why we're here and what it's all about. This, the love, the
Ex-
connection. Yeah,
exactly. So let's jump right in here. Your journey has not been typical for someone who would be doing what you're doing now. So you started off as, I mean, you were a U.S. Navy commander in a very high profile position with the Joint Chiefs, right?
that's right.
And then you become a spiritual medium. So tell me about that, the transition, and how you found the courage to embrace such a profound transformation in your life when, you were in such a different profession.
It's funny, you are not the first one to talk about it being a courageous shift. But for me, after my stepdaughter was struck and killed by lightning in 2006, I had retired about 3 years earlier. I just knew she had to still exist in some form, even though I didn't have any belief in the afterlife, any experience of seeing spirits, none whatsoever. But I had just recently, before she passed, by no coincidence, read a book about mediumship. And that planted the seed in my mind that there is an afterlife. I didn't really know much about it or know if I could believe in it. But when I saw Susan's body, I knew that she had to still exist as a soul. And so I set out to connect with her myself, and that's what opened me up to the greater reality, as I like to call it, the wholeness of physical and non-physical being one continuum of consciousness. And we're part of that. So it was unexpected. And yet, at the soul level, I know it was part of a plan because people now hear my backstory and they know in their soul that there's more, but their human side says, oh, I don't want to be duped, what if I look silly? And so they trust me. So
Yes.
when I saw how healing a reading with a medium can be, and then discovered that I could do it too, it wasn't a matter of courage at all. It was a matter of what an honor to be able to show people this. And so if people think it's strange or unusual, that's their path. I know this is reality, and I just embraced it from the very start.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Talk about that early embrace. So, you and I think you were sailing with your husband Ty when you got received the news about Susan,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
And she was tragically hit by lightning. So talk about how this evolved for you. You received this tragic news. When did it start to see glimmers of that light, of that other part that was
Oh,
started that
yeah, you've heard this if you've just been reading or listening to Making the Afterlife Connection. It was the signs that started coming from Susan, but I didn't realize they were signs. And so she would send the signs just as I was about to read about the very signs she was sending in books I had gotten in the US and taken back to the Mediterranean after the funeral with me about the afterlife. So I'm sitting in a hotel on our way back to our boat. We had to make a stopover. And I'm reading this book about the afterlife, and all of a sudden there's noise inside the hotel room. We were on the balcony. I went in, and the television had turned itself on. And I thought, how did that happen? That's never happened before. And so I go back to reading after turning the TV off, and the very next paragraph said, those in spirit will often make their presence known by manipulating electronic devices. And so I thought about that, but I didn't really I don't know if I didn't believe. So how was that then? I just wondered, could that have been Susan? But I didn't believe it. Then we're back on our boat that very same week. We're going down the Adriatic Sea. There's no land for miles, and this butterfly follows us for 2 days. And my husband says, have you noticed this butterfly? And I said, yeah, it's kind of strange, huh? And I go back to reading right then. And it says in a different book about mediumship, those in spirit will let you know they're around by manipulating animals and instinct in insects like a butterfly in December, it said. And I looked at my husband, I said, listen to this, or like a butterfly on the Adriatic Sea. And then we had an encounter with a butterfly that, flying out of nowhere when I asked Susan to make her presence known, flying around me in a circle, bouncing into my heart, going straight down the trail, flying around, my husband in a circle, bouncing into his heart and flying off. That was 3. That was the trifecta right there, all in the same week. And I said, okay, I expected to see Susan right away. I expected to hear her. That's not happening, but this is clearly something happening at work. And so I said, Susan, if this is you, keep it up. And meanwhile, I sat daily, silently, meditating, but I didn't even know what meditation was, but just sitting there saying, Susan, reveal yourself to me. And it was that practice over a long time that opened me up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That is incredible, about the butterflies. And when you say, it was a long time, because you do have to convince that logical part of your brain, or allow yourself to release that logic and embrace what is being presented to you, right? It
Well,
takes time to.
I've actually learned the mechanics of what's going on here when we sit quietly in meditation with a focus and be very present. You actually dampen the left hemisphere's activities of naming things and categorizing and all of its activities that keep us very present in this objective world. You dampen that and you activate the right brain's awareness of interconnectedness and flow and sensations. So it balances the brain over time. So physiologically, it makes sense why meditation helps. But Susan came to me, it took 3 years, Kelly, 3 years. But I was already doing readings for other people because I opened up to the presence of spirit. But she came years later again. Once she came, she comes frequently. But in one specific visit, she explained to me that she deliberately held back all that time once I'd made the contact with spirit, because I needed to really open up and experience expanded states of consciousness and all kinds of adventures in consciousness. Because if I had seen her right away, sensed her right away, I would have basically said, mission accomplished. Okay,
Yeah.
let's get on with life here, and would have just stopped learning.
Wow, that is so true. You would have put your foot on the brake.
I
And I'm
would have.
sorry, I just got a little distracted because a big blue butterfly just flew by my window.
Yay.
Um, so you were already doing readings. You were already opening up to these gifts. So when she came through those years later, what was that like for you?
I encourage everybody to watch our documentary called Wolfe's Message, because the first 20 minutes or so tell this story I tell it in the documentary, and I describe her initial visit. There are visuals. That's at wolfsmessage.com. You can watch online, because I put her to the test, Kelly. I was already an evidence-based medium, and anytime anybody's loved one comes to me in spirit, I say, look, I can feel you, I sense you, but we need to know some things about you I couldn't possibly know, and they do. So when Susan came, there was no doubt in my mind it was her, but I knew I would say to my husband, Ty, her dad, hey, Susan finally visited me. And he would need the evidence because he didn't have that personal experience that I did. So I said, Susan, and we can all do this with our loved ones that we sense. Tell me something about, and now pick somebody that you both knew. In this case, I said, tell me something about your biological mother going on right now that I don't know. And she gave me 3 current events. And we were able to validate them with a single phone call. Very specific things like her cat is sick. Now, cats really are pretty healthy most of the time, right? This
Yeah.
cat had, her mom had just brought her home from the vet with medication. So, boom, evidence.
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel like, I'm sure I'm like many people, but I came from a healthcare background, so that evidence-based mediumship for me, I don't know, it just gave me a lot of comfort, and I do
Yeah.
remember you doing that, with me,
Do
and
you remember any of the specific evidence at this time so people understand what evidence about someone I don't know is like?
so there was, you brought up something about Stephen that, um, the kind of a nickname for the Wolf Pack, the Ice Pack, his hockey team, which you would not have known. You
Yeah.
didn't even really at that point. I don't even think you knew who was coming in. I was very vague. I remember on that first visit. You brought up something about that. You brought up something very specific that I've never written about or talked about one of his friends.
Yeah.
Um, and there was one other thing that I can't quite remember now, but it was three very solid things that I was like, okay, here we go.
And see, then when we get that evidence, now when our loved ones get through their messages, what does he really want you to know? I'm okay, Mom. I'm having fun here. That I see you. I'm with you. Those kind of messages, anybody could say them, but an ethical medium would not just say them. They're waiting because the loved ones have specific messages they know their loved ones here need to hear, such as, for example, the director of our film, Wolf's Message, Jim Spruill, has a son across the veil. And his son came through and said, Dad, we're still a family of four. And I knew they had a daughter, so I know they're a family of four. But him saying that was really significant because Dad had been worrying, what do I tell people? Do I have a family of three or family of four? And was even writing song lyrics about this conundrum.
Oh
So
my gosh.
Dakota, his son, knew this, and that was his message. Dad, we're still a family of four. Isn't that cool?
That is very cool. And that is one of the most challenging and difficult questions a bereaved parent is asked.
Oh,
How many
yeah.
children do you have? I
Yeah.
remember the first time I was asked that question. I'm sure that you and Ty can as well. It
Oh, yeah.
stops you in your tracks.
Yeah. And you
Yeah.
still have however many children you gave birth to. You still have them. They're still
Yes.
right here at a different frequency, on a different channel. They're still part
Yeah,
of your lives, and you move forward with them. You don't move on without them.
that's right. That's so true. You remind people that even when they feel broken or wounded, at the soul level, they are perfectly fine. Can you
Yes.
explain that to our audience?
Yes. If you want to envision this metaphysically, picture a grid, a lattice, this beautiful web of energy, a pattern. That's your soul. That pattern remains whole and complete throughout your life, but you imprint over that, overlay that on that, your biophysical field, your mental field, your emotional field that makes up your personality while in the body. Those can get broken and traumatized, but our goal is to align with this integral essential pattern of the soul that's always guiding us back to our wholeness that's right here. That's just a new way I'm explaining it, and I hope it makes sense. But people say, oh, I'm broken. Oh, I'm traumatized. Yes, at one level, but at your deeper level, you are whole and complete right now. In the film
Mhm.
Wolf's Message, I know that some of the words that came out while I was on camera were inspired by my Susan. And there's this one line when I heard it, when I watched the movie for the first time, I thought, wow. And Susan said, I gave you that. And it says that I said, we don't have to be perfect while we're in these bodies. We are already divine. And that's
Oh,
the soul. And that's why we seek peace because it's already here and we know what it feels like inside.
right.
And it's why
Yeah.
we seek love, but we go outside ourselves when it's already here. This perfection, this grid that is just whole, complete, and reflecting your brightest light.
Mm. That's beautiful. And when you look at many religions worldwide, there is conversation, like in Buddhism, for example, there's conversation about I think it's called the bodhicitta heart. And it is this unchangeable peace within you
Yes.
that is your soul at your soul level, that is always perfect.
Yeah.
And I think it's just such a beautiful thing to keep in the back of your mind as you walk through this, kind of more traditional life, that there's so much more.
And let's take it a step further. It's like nested dolls. The soul's pattern is aligned with the pattern of source. It directly arises from that. So all of us hold that ultimately the same pattern. as expressions of God, source, the one being itself. So it just, the farther within we can go, we don't have to go out to look for a God or our spirit guides or angels or our loved ones. We go right here to the very core of us, like you were talking about, and it's all right here. It's a matter of where we focus our attention.
Mm-hmm. Talk to me about intention and how that plays a part in, really making that afterlife connection.
It's critical because we create with consciousness. Consciousness goes where our attention goes. And so when I start a session for somebody, I've learned to say, what is your intention for our session together? Because when I do a reading, my intention is I'm going to connect you with your loved ones. So I'm going to be scanning awareness for loved ones. But sometimes I'll have a client who doesn't want to hear from loved ones. They want to know all about themselves. They want psychic work, which is different from mediumship. If I didn't ask them that, what's your intention? Our intentions are at cross purposes and we won't have the best session. But if they say, I want to hear about myself, I'll still be looking for loved ones, but we just match intentions and they get what's in their greatest and highest good. So in life in general, if we want to connect with our loved ones, we just pause and don't just say, hey, that would be great. You set a very clear intention from the center of you and you say, I'm open to connecting. I know you still exist. I know this in my soul. And I am here to be open to however you're going to show up to me. Now, that is a clear intention. Now, spirit
Yeah.
can work with that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's beautiful. Um, in your book, you talk about the 3 E's. Um, tell our audience about what that means and the relationship between making that connection.
Yes. Well, I have another book called The Awakened Way. And it's
Yes.
based on the awareness that we're not only human, we're also souls right now, that we're part of this one big web, the grid, the matrix, and that love is what connects us all. Love is the connection, the lack of separation. So based on those 3 things, the way that help you live in accordance with that belief, these 3 E's are: number 1, educate yourself about your true nature. And you're doing it, Kelly, by reading Making the Afterlife Connection and watching videos like Wolf's Message. And I have over 600 videos on my YouTube channel.
Oh, your YouTube
Educate
channel is fantastic. I'm sorry I had to interrupt you. It is wonderful. I highly encourage people to go and have a listen. It's so
yourself.
inspiring.
Thank you. And educate yourself about who you are by starting to do self-inquiry. I talk about that in The Awakened Way. And, we take for granted that I'm just me. Well, there are layers and layers and layers of you. So start asking the questions that dig deeper and then listen for answers. That's the second E. Experience for yourself your higher self, the higher realities, but not by going out here, by going within. So I have
Right.
on my YouTube channel processes and videos, and I have lots of courses that teach people to open up to this. The Sip of the Divine is my favorite place to send people to start because it only takes 3 minutes a day to experience expanded states of awareness and get in the habit of shifting your focus from this objective world to the subjective world and then integrating the two. Once you have the personal experience that, oh my gosh, I'm not only this story with my name on it, I'm also this more spacious self that we're going to call the soul. Then the 30, it's not linear. You can do any of these in any order, is engage higher consciousness. We're part of this one big web. So reach out to your loved ones, talk to them. Maybe you don't believe in angels and guides yet. I didn't in the past. And now it's not a matter of belief. It's a matter of knowing we have helpers. They're right here. Oh yeah. Oh, they just snagged me. This morning's morning message, no surprise. Every time I do an interview or a reading, the morning message from Spirit comes up. And this morning's message starts out, was it not, it wasn't, hear ye, hear ye. We have an announcement for you, something like that. But we don't hear it because we're not shifting our focus. We're just so focused on our monkey
Um,
mind. Those,
yeah.
those daily messages, by the way, are in a free app called the Awaken, not the, just Awaken Way. You can find Awaken Way. We just passed our 65,000th download. So people are reading these messages that come from spirit every day. That's a great way of educating and experience and engaging spirit right there, including a
Right.
little
And it,
mark button. Yeah.
yeah. And I have the app. I mean, you know, you and I have known each other for a while and I've followed all of your work. But I have the app. I love that it is a way to keep you at a higher vibration and it's right in your hand. You have this in your hand anyway, so why not get some good stuff, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And it's just a beautiful way to keep your vibration on a level where you want to stay.
Hugely important because it's so easy to get sucked back into only human mode and the
Yeah.
drama. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, your
Um,
program is, just part of a wave, a movement that's helping everybody raise their consciousness.
well, you know, I think we all have to play our part. We all have a role to play in helping people move to this next chapter. And I think it's happening. I really do. Um, I feel quite confident about that. So,
Yeah.
you have described your path as a journey from doubt to knowing that death is not the end. So, what do you say when you meet someone who is feeling skeptical, like, and they want to have a conversation with you, they're feeling skeptical about this, like, how do you approach that?
I say that you're asking these questions because there's something in you that knows there's more. It's great to be curious and it's really wise to be skeptical. So ask for evidence, test it in your heart, and let the evidence speak for itself. But also listen to that gut feeling, the heart feeling, the heart's knowing that there's more here than meets the eye.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's beautiful. Um, when you are out and about, you can tell I'm Canadian, can't you? When I
I
just said
know.
that, I heard
Every
it.
time you think about
um, and how do you I'm not sure how you do this. Like, do you have a filter where you put yourself in a mental place and that's when spirit comes to you or people who want to talk to their loved ones? What is that like for you in normal everyday at Costco kind of thing?
Yeah, I know that it's part of, uh, well, I don't know. I haven't asked exactly how it works. I just know I am not open all the time. And that's a blessing
Yeah.
because my personal makeup is that I would want to be giving messages to everybody because I feel so I feel so much compassion for people. Know we all have somebody across the veil that we'd want to hear from. And for example, I'm on tour now with Wolf's Message and I'm meeting hundreds of people a week and they come up for book signing and you just can't give messages to everybody. Yet I know in my heart they all want it. And so it's just as a protective measure, it's cut off. When I'm talking with you as a person, it's just us here. But when there's a certain knowing that I'm supposed to do a session for somebody, or boy, this person really needs a message, occasionally I'll get a drop in and I'll know
Yeah.
there's a loved one. And they just give me something really quick usually, and I'll pass that along. But it's rare because of that desire to help everybody, which is why I do the readings. And then because we've set an intention, we've set a time, we can be calm and quiet and focused. Then the connection is just amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you and I did not realize that you were on tour this summer with Wolf's Message. Can you tell our audience a little bit about Wolf and how this all came to be, because it's such a beautiful story.
Wolfe was a young man named Mike Passacarnis who was struck and killed by lightning like my stepdaughter. And when his parents heard my story and realized it was the same as their son, they came up to me and said, "We need to talk to you," because our son left proof that he knew how he was going to be killed by lightning, where exactly under this tree it was going to happen, and it did, and what would happen afterwards. Something they did to honor him that was totally out of the ordinary. And I immediately replied, because the soul knows our path, but it doesn't always filter to the present for most of us. But Wolf knew. And he left the proof, and it's all in the film. And this is why when I first told their story in my book, Wolf's Message, I knew that had to be a movie someday, because that's our proof right there. And I meet audiences. We're here in California because we're showing the film in Marin County and they're sold out everywhere we go, Kelly, because people, they want that proof, and they've heard about it, and they want to see the film, and they want to feel the love. And I tell the audiences before we start, this is not just a documentary. This is a catalyst to change, because you watch this, you see the evidence, you feel the energy, and it just flips a switch in you and says, I need to know more. And now you can do the 3 E's, right? Educate,
Yeah,
experience,
that's
and
right.
yeah.
That's
So
so right.
we're doing in-person events where I talk about the behind the scenes things. We're encouraging people to host screenings for their own organizations, but it's also available for individual viewing online. But the tour has been phenomenal. Ty just told me we're 5 miles away from 7,000 miles into it. 7,000, and we have 6,000 to go. We're really doing this kind of a trip around the US.
Oh my gosh, that must be fun in itself, though.
It's a lot of work, but it is rewarding. Yeah.
Yeah. And beautiful to see different parts of the country. I traveled a little bit around the country by car too, and it's a completely different experience when you're on the ground, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah, it
Yeah,
is. Yes, we
and
just had
you
somebody in a big city say, You're taking the pulse of the country. What's it like out there? Are people worried?" And I said, Ty said, "No, you get away from the cities, and things are actually pretty good. I mean, we've always had challenges, but stop listening to the news, everybody. Listen to your heart, right?
right,
Raise your
right.
consciousness, and you raise the consciousness of those around you. Yes, we have challenges. Yes, we face them. Yes, we deal with them. We deal with our emotions, but we don't let them swamp us and take us to fear.
No, yeah. Um, I totally agree, and it's a good opportunity in times of change, I think, to reconnect with your community, whatever community that might be. Because I think sometimes we can tend to catastrophize when we're alone,
Oh, yes. Yes.
and so getting out with other people, like-minded people or not, is a wonderful way to kind of bridge yourself back to, you know what? There's a lot of good people in this country, in this world, because we can tend to forget that when we turn on the news.
Oh, yeah. I just got an email from a man who attended our event in Seattle last week, and he said, I came because my partner wanted me to come. And he said, I'm very left brain. I think he was a psychologist. He said, I was blown away. The evidence, and then the discussion and the love. He said, I've never experienced anything like it. He just was jumping out of his skin. And that's why I say it will change you. And then you take that forward, and how far are you going to open up?
Exactly. Hey guys, Kelly here. I wanted to jump in and let you know that you can find out more about my work by visiting my website at kellybuckley.com, or you can find my books on Amazon. Okay, back to the episode. So you obviously meet a lot of people who are in different stages of grief, who have lost loved ones from a variety of different ways. And so you can, through a reading, you can provide them with hope in that way. But what else would you say to the bereaved community? You have this knowledge that death is not the end. But above and beyond a reading, do you have any wisdom for our listeners who are walking through their grief?
I do.
Um,
I do.
okay,
Each person's journey is going to be unique, and knowing that your loved one is still here definitely helps. But grief I have seen it, it affects some people in there's the same pain, but the pain is felt differently. And some people really need help. What we need is support, and we need to know we're not alone.
mhm.
And so uh, there are grief experts, and I am not one. David Kessler has
Yes.
some great books and talks, and I just referred someone to his work the other day, because I'm not the expert. But the biggest advice is, do not self-medicate so
Right.
that you don't feel the pain. It's still going to be there, and it just makes things worse. So then you say, but I don't want to feel this. What do I do? Ask spirit that question and be open to the guidance. And it may lead you to a circle of supporters. It may lead you to a walk in nature. But then the other thing is feel that grief, but don't wallow in it. Find a way to interrupt that circuit when you get swamped. If it is just a walk in nature or just as a woman, Leanne Hall helps people whose loved ones complete suicide. She said she'll just say, "Stop it," and she still feels the grief, but she's not spiraling. You know, have a
Yeah.
playlist that uplifts you, not keeps you dragged down. There are lots of techniques,
Hmm.
but you see that they all involve not just feeling helpless.
So that's a beautiful way to connect when we talk about grief, about people seeking out that help, because many times people think that they have to walk a path alone or they don't want to go to a group. David Kessler is an exceptional resource. I agree, and he actually worked with Elizabeth Kubler-Ross when in his younger days when we were talking about the stages of grief. And he, just for information for our audience, he has added the sixth step, which is finding meaning. And
Yeah,
that to me was the missing piece of the puzzle, was finding meaning at the end of it. And so I encourage
you
everybody
put
to look at his work, because I feel that peace. It just, for me, I thought that was so healing that he wanted to add that sixth step.
well, you found it beautifully with your just one little thing. All right. You didn't set out to change the world. You set out to help people. And so there's a piece right there that helps you find meaning is service to others of some kind. That gets you out of the self and translates your pain into a way of connecting and helping others. So you have this beautiful service to the world. Now it's a podcast, but we don't have to touch millions. Touch one other person and say, I can relate to what you're going through. I may not know it exactly because we're each unique, but I can relate. I understand. You know, just be there for other people. Yeah.
Yeah. And, before just one little thing, before the podcast, um, the biggest sense of purpose that I would have would be when one mother would write to me and I would sit in my pajamas and write back to her. And
Yeah.
that was at that time, that was all I had capacity for.
Yeah.
Um, but it was just as important. I still feel like that is one of my main purpose is to respond to those moms who write.
Oh, wow.
I think that,
Beautiful.
and that it's just person to person, right? At the end of the
Yeah.
day.
Yeah. And soul
Yeah.
to soul. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
soul to soul. Beautiful way to end that. Um, so talk about, I want to go back to making the afterlife connection, because it has some really practical tools. And then you kind of blend it in with beautiful stories of people finding their own awakening. So what inspired you to write this book at this moment in time?
The fact that when I went back to my initial memoir, Messages of Hope, and there's also a documentary on Amazon about that one. Um, when I went back and read it a few years ago, I thought, wow, I've come so far. I've had so many adventures in consciousness. My mediumship has advanced so much since this book was written. I wish people would know what's possible for us. And Hay House, my favorite self transformational publisher, had published The Awakened Way. And they said, we want to do another book with you. Why don't you do a rewrite of Messages of Hope and make it a teaching memoir? So
Mm.
that's how it came about. It was perfect. I just wanted it, and then Spirit orchestrated Hay House saying, do this. So I'd say about 50% of the stories in Making the Afterlife Connection are told in Messages of Hope, but they're expanded now. And then I added what has happened since then. It's seamless. It doesn't, it's a standalone book. from the very start telling you the stories that we've shared already here about Susan's passing. But at the end of every chapter, so there are 21 or 22 ways that you can learn to make the afterlife connection, which I love.
Yeah, I love that too. And it's very practical. As I've been listening to the book, and I was like, yeah, U.S. Navy commander, I get it. She's got this all organized. It's lovely. The
Yeah.
nurse in me loves that. Um, so I want to kind of move in a little bit of a different direction, and I hadn't planned this, but the
Good.
sip of the divine,
Yes.
the
Yeah.
sip of the divine. Um, can we take 3 minutes and have do that with our audience?
We can, but it requires a little bit of advanced discussion so they understand what those 3 minutes are about and why we do it the way we do. I
Okay.
didn't realize that when I sat every day to connect with Susan, I was training myself for spirit communication in general. I was opening myself to the awareness that I'm not just this body and this persona. Whatever your name is, put it on that. You're not just that story. And you notice that because you're able to watch yourself, observe yourself, and listen to your thoughts. So, the sip of the divine, first of all, it's only 3 minutes on purpose because it takes away the excuse, I don't have time to meditate. Anybody can find 3 minutes. And then it takes away the excuse, I can't quiet my mind. Because the sip of the divine is not about quieting your mind, it's about observing the mind. And I say the mind because you realize that when you sit and observe what arises in awareness, what you notice are sensations, thoughts, and feelings. That's all. That's all you ever experience are sensations, thoughts, and feelings. Notice that's STF, the stuff of life. STF. That's in the Awaken Way book. So as you start to observe what arises, you notice how much of it is repetitive, how much of it is just this normal thoughts over and over and over. And you note that's the monkey mind. And you start to notice how much attention you normally give all of these thoughts. And then you notice that a lot of those thoughts are not productive or self-deprecating. You're talking yourself down or not supporting yourself. But then if you set an intention to ask a question, what do I need to know now? Or who am I? Something like that. What do I need to know that I don't know? Some sensation, thought, or feeling will arise that stands out from the normal stuff. So in just 3 minutes a day, you get training in focusing on the mind. Because if there's stuff that comes in that's not yours, then it's not your mind. You see, it's the
Yeah.
mind and you're part of it. So the practice is to notice the stuff, but not engage it unless it stands out and you feel you want to go down that path. So it would go like this. I get quiet and I go, oh, there's my lip twitch. That happens every time I connect with spirit. But I listen and I hear, am I doing this right? That's probably one of the first thoughts that comes up. And all you do is say, oh, there's a thought. Let it go. And it floats by. So the stuff are like clouds. They're going to be, there's a thought. Or uh, are the 3 minutes up yet? That one comes up almost every time. Are the 3 minutes up yet? That's just a thought. Let it go. So it's really just training in noticing. And the cool thing, Kelly, is that the more you do this, the longer the gaps between the stuff. And
Mm,
that becomes a new pattern, a new way of being with more spaciousness, so that when your loved ones and guides want to get something in awareness, when you're not doing the sip of the divine, you notice it. There's space. It's not so cluttered in the mind. How's that?
right. That's that's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great, great
So,
explanation.
so you start the sip of the divine with one very slow, very deep, long, slow inhale and exhale. That relaxes you. And then you just start observing with curiosity, with no judgment, but don't engage those normal thoughts. Just be interested, but let them go. And you just watch for 3 minutes. If you get an answer, like, what do I need to know that I don't know? And it doesn't make sense, then you can say, why did I see that? Why'd you say that? What do I need to know? And follow it up. But really, this is about training. It's not about a big conversation with spirit, this 3 minutes. Sit in peace. That's what SIP stands for. So you're having a sip of the divine for 3 minutes. You ready to do it?
Yep.
I'm going to set the timer on my phone. Hopefully the alarm is not too jarring. I think I'll look and I'll stop it just before. But I would encourage everybody to set down whatever you're doing and just join me in closing your eyes now and take a nice relaxing breath in. Very slowly release it. Note every sensation, thought, and feeling that comes up and let it go. Here we go. You might ask now, what do I need to know now that I don't know? And with 3 minutes complete, just take a nice refreshing breath and give yourself a wave of gratitude and a wave of gratitude to the one mind that joins us all, and just come back refreshed.
That was beautiful.
Now, if you do that every day for 3 weeks, you're creating a new pattern and you may not want to stop. Sometimes you'll want to go 5 minutes or a little longer. It's not quantity, it's quality.
Yeah. And that's what I think that's what I loved when I first heard about the sip of the divine, was that it was just so manageable. If you are at a beginning stage, that it was manageable, that 3 minutes, that anybody could do 3 minutes. And then you can build on that.
You reminded me of a very important point, though. My friend Irene, whose daughter Carly is across the veil, she's the vice president of Helping Parents Heal.
Yep.
She was afraid to sit quietly because she was afraid that wave of grief would well up and swamp her and she'd just lose it again. I didn't
Mm,
realize that that is a very valid fear of sitting in the silence, sitting in stillness. And she
yeah.
finally just got so tired of saying no and pushing it away. She said, I surrender. I'm just going to sit and do it. She sat, and here came that wave. But because she had agreed to look at it, she said it went poof. And she said, it didn't kill me. It didn't knock me over. And it took away all the fear of meditating. And she established this beautiful connection with her daughter.
Ah,
So don't be
that's so
afraid of
beautiful.
your emotions.
Yeah. I
They
think that
flow.
that's yeah, and is not being afraid to sit with it. And Irene, I mean, the work that they do is so marvelous for bereaved parents all over the country. I didn't
All over the
realize it
world now.
all over the world. That's true. Yeah, it's a beautiful group. Um, if you could go back, I'm going to ask one of these questions now. As we close out this interview, if you could go back to your younger self, perhaps Suzanne, the Navy officer,
Mm.
and you could chat with her about spirituality and stuff, what message would you give your younger self?
It starts right away with you are safe and loved. I never realized that. I did all kinds of silly things to get love and overachieving. I still work really hard, but now it's my passion. It's not because I have to get something or be appreciated. In the past, it was I have to be perfect. I have to make sure I don't screw up. It was fear-based and
Mhm,
lack-based. Now I would say, Suzanne, you're already whole and complete. That's it. And the old Suzanne would say, yeah, BS. Yeah, belief system. Belief system. Change your belief system to wow. This awakened way of living, I say it takes you from this emptiness that can't be filled to a fullness you can't contain. I had one of those waves yesterday where I just it's like you can't contain it. I just got to spew it all over everybody. The love, the gratitude for knowing we're all connected, for knowing there's more than this, for knowing we're here to love each other and be able to do that, even if others aren't ready to receive it. That's what
mhm,
I love being able to help people find. I was going to say that's what I want everybody to have, but that's a wanting is unfulfilled because it may not happen. But that is my vision for others.
mm. Yeah.
That changes the dynamic from gotta have it to wouldn't that be wonderful? Yeah.
I love when I meet people who may not necessarily be ready to move into a conversation like this one. I love just kind of leaving them with a little love bomb. I just like whether I give out those blessing stones and
Yeah.
yeah, I love just kind of just dropping it in there and wishing them a happy day and then moving on my way because if we all did a little bit of that, um, slowly we would all start to heal each other, right?
Yes. Yes. Sanaya ends that's my guides. They're the ones that give us the daily message. If you go on the app or Facebook or my webpage, every message ends with "You are so very loved." That's their love bomb. But you made me laugh because several years ago I was saying on my podcast that to this day I still drop F bombs. I got attacked by a bee the other day. It was the most painful sting I've ever had. And the words coming out of my mouth was true sailor language, right? Miss Spiritual here, you would not have wanted to be anywhere around me. So this person was laughing about me dropping F-bombs, and she mailed me a hand crocheted grenade with a heart coming out of the top of it. She said, "Don't drop F-bombs, drop love bombs."
Oh my gosh. That's the
Yes.
best.
That sits on my desk at home. I'm in my RV now, but yeah, love
That
bomb.
is so great. So Suzanne, before we close out, can you tell our audience, and we've talked a little bit, you've mentioned several ways that they can connect with you, but just tell them, about finding your books, any upcoming events that you're doing.
Yeah. So there on the screen is SuzanneGiesemann.com, and we have a little feature on there. It says join our community. If you click there, you'll get notified of events, and like we're about to send out a newsletter with, I just did a channeling at the Omega Center with my guides. It's beautiful energy. We're putting that online today on YouTube. So subscribe to my YouTube channel and you'll know when we put up new videos. Join the community that joins live on Sunday for my podcast every Sunday. Feel the love. I do monthly webinars where we sit in the love and I share the latest teaching from Spirit over the last month. There's just so many ways to connect, and I thank you for helping me get that word out there.
Oh, well, I will tell you that for the listeners, when you connect with Suzanne, even though you may be thousands of miles away from her, when I read my daily The Awakened Way, I always feel like you're almost sitting next to me with a cup of tea. I mean, it's a beautiful way to start the day. Yeah, I feel very honored to have you on this podcast with me and to call you a friend. I truly do.
Well, thank you. I just love that our paths have continued to cross over the years. And you just reminded me, start the day with the daily way message. But I just heard from somebody, and I can't remember who it is, but I've started it. And this is the very first time I've shared it. Haven't even shared it with my team of assistants. But I encourage all of you to get, and it's perfect because you have your just one little thing, a gratitude buddy. Maybe you have this practice already, but find one person that at the end of the day, you send a text to each other, not necessarily at the same time. Today, I'm grateful for. And I found a buddy, and I'm not telling anybody who it is because I don't want anybody to be jealous that it's not them. But I have this buddy, and the rule is you don't start a whole string of texts. You just give it a heart because you're holding that space that I'm glad you're grateful for that. That's cool. And here's what I'm grateful for. And because gratitude is the fastest way to align with that soul's pattern. You know that. You started a movement, right?
I do.
So a
Yeah.
gratitude buddy, I just love that. That holds you to it. We've only been doing it about 6 days now. Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to get myself a buddy.
Yeah. And I knew it couldn't be my husband. It needs to be somebody that's, doesn't know everything about you, and you just share this, and it is a beautiful moment and ends your day that way.
Oh, I love that. All
Yeah.
right, guys, get a gratitude buddy. Suzanne, thank you so much for being so generous with your time. I wish you safe travels, and I hope everything goes well with the rest of your trip, and you connect with so many beautiful people and help so many.
Thank you, and bless you, Kelly, for what you're doing for the world. You are a blessing. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys for being here. We'll see you next time. Thank you for joining me today on Broken Beautiful Me. I hope you found today's episode inspiring and insightful. Remember, every scar tells a story, and every story has the power to heal. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform so you never miss an episode. Your support means the world to me, and it helps spread the message of hope and resilience to more people like us. Don't forget to leave a review and share this podcast with your friends and family. Together, we can create a community of strength and beauty in our brokenness. Until next time, stay strong, stay beautiful, and keep shining.